This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
We're up to Perek Aleph, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. And the last Pasuk in the Perek teaches us, until when was Daniel in his position? We learned that Daniel and Hanani Mishav Azari were trained for a period of time. For how long? For 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, Nebuchadnezzar tested everybody, and he did not find anybody as wise and as ready for the task that he needed as Daniel, Hanani, Mishav, Azariah. And so now, until when did Daniel have his job in the service of the king? So the pasuk says, "Vayihi Daniel ad shnas achas l'koresh hamelach." Daniel was until the first year of Koresh the king. That's what the last pasuk in Perek Aleph teaches us. Daniel lasted until the first year of King Koresh. Now, that
must have lived a long time.
So now we have to understand, the first thing is, who is Koresh? It says that Daniel lasted until the first year of King Koresh. Who is King Koresh? Now, in actuality, there were two Koreshes. Because you know the Persian Empire started with somebody by the name of Darius. Okay? And Darius was the first of the Persian kings. And during his reign, Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. We're going to learn later about how Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. That was during the reign of Darius the first. After Darius, his son-in-law, Koresh, the Parsi, Koresh the Persian, who was the son-in-law of Darius, he conquered Babylon together with his father-in-law, together with the Sefer. Yeah, him and the Sefer, they conquered Babylonia. And in the first year of Koresh's reign, he offered the following proclamation: Mi bachem v'yoal. He said, anybody who wants could go up to Yerushalayim and rebuild the second Beis HaMikdash. So you had Darius, then you had Koresh, and who comes after Koresh? Achashverosh. Good. And who comes after Achashverosh? Again, Darius, right? The son of Achashverosh. And during the reign of Darius, the second Beis HaMikdash was built. Now, if you look at Masechta Rosh Hashanah and Daf Gimel Amud Beis, the Gemara says that Darius the second had a second name. What was his second name? Koresh. Yeah? So, what? Okay, good. So we have two Koreshes. We have the Koresh before Achashverosh. We have the Koresh who is Darius, the son of Achashverosh. So when the Navi says that Vayi Daniel ad shnas achas the Koresh hamelach, Daniel was until the first year of Koresh. Now we have to ask ourselves, which Koresh? The Koresh before Achashverosh or the Koresh after Achashverosh? So now, how are we going to determine this question? We're going to try to use the machlekes Rav and Shmuel in the Gemara and Masechta Megillah to try to address this question. We have machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Daniel had another name. Yeah? What was Daniel's second name? Hasach. Why was Daniel called Hasach? So machlekes. Either Rav says Shechatchu migdulasai, he lost his job. Or Shekol Divrei Malchus Nechtachin al Piv. Every matter of the king was decided by him. Right, Rabbi Sai? You hear the two pshatim in Hasach? Either Hasach means he was cut off from his job, or Hasach means everything that the king decided was through him, was through Daniel's decision. So now, it's opposite meanings. Hasach can mean two opposite things. It could either mean that he lost his job, or it could mean his job was as strong as ever. Everything of the king was decided by him. So if the Navi says over here that Daniel lasted until the first year of King Achashverosh, the first year of Koresh, so now let's ask ourselves, if Daniel is called Hasach because he lost his job, that means already when did he lose the job? Already in Shushan, when he's going back and forth between Esther and Mordechai, he had already lost his job. So you have to say that when the Navi says Daniel was in power until the first year of Koresh, Which Kairesh was it?
First.
The first one, because by the time the second one came, he didn't have his job anymore. By the time the miracle of Purim happened, he lost his job. In other words, you have Kairesh before Achashverosh, you have Kairesh after Achashverosh, and smack in between you have the Purim story. So when the Navi says that Daniel had his power until the first year of Kairesh, so which Kairesh? If Hasach means Daniel lost his job, that means already in the time of Purim he lost his job. You have to say what the Navi means was Daniel was in power until the first year of the first Kairesh. But if Hasach means that Shekal Divrei Malchus Nechtach and Alpiv, which means, or even in the time of the Purim story, Daniel was still in power, you have to say that when the Navi says Daniel was in power until the first year of Kairesh, it has to be the second Kairesh. Okay, I'm not telling you any chidushim. This is what Rashi says. We'll read Rashi inside.
Isn't Daniel mentioned in the Megillah? What was his other name?
We were just still talking about
Hasach.
Hasach.
In the Megillah, it's
It's not
Hasach.
mentioned.
No, it's
It's not mentioned at all.
Yeah, when the Megillah says Vayavai Hasach, Hasach, the Gemara says is Daniel. V'lama nikra shema Hasach. So Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, either because he lost his job or because all the words of the king were decided by him. So that Machlokes Rav and Shmuel will determine what this pasuk means in the last pasuk in Perek Aleph. Look at Rashi.
If he decided all the words of the king,
Then
the first
he must have been.
would not have happened.
It means he was he was still in power for.
Not
other
that
things,
it
except
when it happened, there could have been someone else. Could have
means all
been
the other things.
interfere or whatever.
Here, let's take a look at Rashi.
Daniel was in Babel.
Nebuchadnezzar.
So why do they give his tenure related to a different kingdom, to Koresh? They should say how long he lasted relative to Nebuchadnezzar. Why
Why are we marking him by Koresh?
Yeah, why are we dating him by Koresh? It was not the same.
That's true. He's right.
You know, that's like saying a senator's reign is not determined by the reign of the president, right? The congressman, the Supreme Court justice, they don't leave when the president leaves. So what the Navi is saying is that despite the fact that Nebuchadnezzar is long gone, and Belshazzar is gone, and Evil Meradach is gone, and Daryavesh is gone, he continued to maintain his position. That was to be an officer in the palace.
All right, but he's correct in the sense that Nebuchadnezzar trained him. He had 3 years, and then he was his advisor. How many years was it from between then and the reign of Achashverosh?
The information the Navi is giving us is that his reign lasted until the first year of Kairesh, which may mean Kairesh the first, it may mean Kairesh the second.
So he could have lived 150 years.
Either way, he was at least 85 years old. Either way, he was an old.
He was still a kid by Nebuchadnezzar.
He was 13.
I believe that Abarbanel brings down like this. So Abarbanel brings down that after Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, and he survived, he incurred the jealousy of the other officials. Here you have this old man, and miracles are happening to him, and he asked to be able to step down because he was incurring a lot of jealousy, and he was not able to step down until he got a replacement. And Daniel's replacement was
Mordechai.
Zerubbabel. Take a look at the Metzudas
Wait a
David.
minute. You're saying that he was 85 during the first
minimum of
Darius.
Minimum.
Yeah, look at the Metzudas David. Metzudas David says, "Vayihi Daniel bigdula." He was in his greatness, Hayu bevavel ad shnas umeoz, and from that point on, mana atzmai mimlechas hamelach. He refrained from serving the king. Umina Zerubbabel tachtav. He appointed Zerubbabel, right? Everybody knows Zerubbabel, right? How does everyone know it? Kates Bavel, Zerubbabel.
Who
Right?
was Zerubbabel?
Zerubbabel was Daniel's Mamala Makayim. He was the
Was
officer.
he also a Navi like Daniel?
Well, Daniel may not have been a Navi, but he was also a good from a Yid like Daniel.
Was a Jew.
Right. He was a Jew. Okay.
Was he from
Ashkenazic, this descendant.
from important a family?
I think he was a descendant from David HaMelech. I believe. I don't remember exactly. Okay. Let's continue Perek Beis. Uvishnas shtayim lemalchus Nebuchadnezzar. In the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. Cholam Nebuchadnezzar chaloi. Chaloimois. He had dreams. Vatisbayim ruchai. His spirit beated. His spirit was uneasy. Ushenasai, and his sleep, niyasa alav. Rashi says niyasa alav was broken. So let's take a look at this pasuk. In the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, now that's a very difficult statement to make in the second year of his reign, because we just said in Perek Aleph that Daniel was trained for how many years? 3 years. And Nebuchadnezzar was already, right, the Navi begins in the 3rd year of the kingdom of Yehoiakim, which means the 3rd year of Yehoiakim's rebellion. So what are we doing now? We're going back to Nebuchadnezzar. We're saying Nebuchadnezzar in his 2nd year, and he's going to call people to interpret the dream, and ultimately Daniel interprets the dream. Daniel hasn't even finished his, his training yet. He's still in his officer training. Nobody knows about him, and how could the Navi say in the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign? So Rashi says, look at Rashi. Rashi says, it's impossible to say that this was the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. You know what this means? This wasn't really the 2nd year after Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, which may be even after 20 years of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Tach shenuya b'seder olam. V'karoi l'malchus Nebuchadnezzar. Why do we then call it the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign? Al sheherez zedoinai likanos l'toich devir malchus shalaylam. Because he had the audacity and he had the chutzpah to enter the palace of the king. So Rashi is bothered by a question. Rashi seems to be bothered. Why are we saying in the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign it wasn't the 2nd year? So what's the answer? The answer is because we're dating it from the time that Nebuchadnezzar entered the palace of the king.
2nd year of his reign over Israel.
Over Judah and Jerusalem.
I believe what Rashi is saying is a little bit more than that. And Rashi is saying what the Navi is saying is that this is the 2nd year of the world domination of Nebuchadnezzar. Because this is what Rashi says.
Nebuchadnezzar says that he's saying that shot not like Rashi.
What?
Nebuchadnezzar, he says he's learning like that.
Here, we'll see.
Not like Rashi.
One second. The Rashi says, Al Shehera Zedainoi Likanas Atach Devir Malko Shalayim. The fact that he entered the palace of the king of the world, so now he's ruling over the world. Look at the Malbim.
Second year.
Look at the Malbim. This is the 2nd year, the whole entire world. Malbim also says, look at the Malbim. Malbim says, V'shna shtayim l'machas Nebuchadnezzar. The Malbim says, Ef shalom b'shna shtayim. You can't say it was the 2nd year. Because it says in, we're going to learn that they take Daniel and his friends out to be killed. What do you mean out to be killed? They haven't even been brought into the palace. Their 3-year training hasn't even completed yet. So the Malbim says, "V'lachein sadku divrei Chazal." The words of Chazal are correct. Shepirshu b'shna shtayim l'malchus hakloli shel Nebuchadnezzar. This was the general rule of Nebuchadnezzar. In other words, Nebuchadnezzar started off by being the king over his country, but eventually, when he conquers Eretz Yisrael, he rules the world. He's Malach B'Kippah. Right? The Gemara says, Arba Malach B'Kippah, the 4 people who ruled over the world. And that was only after the Churban Habayis. Okay, so what are you saying? You're saying that Ibn Ezra says he's learning not like Rashi?
He brings Yishna Shni L'Malchus and said, Ha'am Yishmaim Avashim Mordus Yovei Tekriva. That's much more like Rashi's cut. He brings Ramoshe Darshan that says that it was different shots, only 2 years left to the Malchus, when it's something to come to Christ. And nothing the Einai, Malchus is called a guy. She's the Union, actually he's learning it's 2 separate ideas.
Also, it says that...
no, the Ibn Ezra brings down a pshat, the 2nd year means the 2nd year over Yerushalayim. No, I think Rashi is saying more than that. Rashi is not saying, it's not that we're counting, it's not there's something special about ruling over Yerushalayim that's what we're counting from. The fact that he entered the Beis Hamikdash is Malchus Shel Olam, that signified Malach B'Kippah. In other words, at what point is a person considered Malach B'Kippah? Does a mamish mean you have to rule over every square inch of the world? So Rashi understands the fact that he went in Malkei Shel Olam, that means he's Malach Ba'olam.
Assume that that's the sort of Seder Olam. And when the first Pshat he's bringing, he's referring to that Pshat. He's learning.
Yeah, but the words of Rashi are not necessarily the exact words of the Seder Olam, right? Okay, the Ibn Ezra is adding one added prat, that it's beyond the conquer of Yerushalayim, it's and conquering all the other nations that Yirmiyahu predicted that Nebuchadnezzar would conquer. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Now it says he dreamed dreams. Now I just want to point out that not everybody agrees with Rashi. When we say that this was the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, and we said that can't be, right? Because he first trained Daniel and Hananiah and Mishael for 3 years, so it can't be in the second year of his reign. I believe the Rabbi says, no, this is the second year of his reign. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah have not even been appointed yet. The answer, right? He had the dream in the beginning, and this was a reoccurring dream. The dream repeated itself again and again and again, and it continued until Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah were put into power. That's why it says Chaloimois. This was not a one-time dream. This was a recurring dream. Vatispayim ruchai. Now, Rabbi said, does that expression seem familiar? Vatispayim ruchai. By Paro it says very similar, but not exactly. By Paro it says Vatipayim ruchai. So Abzal is going to tell us, what does Rashi say in Parshas Miketz? Rashi asks the kasha, why by Nebuchadnezzar it says Vatispayim ruchai, and why by Daniel?
Because what does Rashi answer? Because he had a few dreams, and here was only one dream.
Rashi says that Paroi remembered the dream. He just didn't remember the interpretation.
But he forgot the dream.
He not only didn't have the interpretation, he didn't even remember what the dream was. Okay, that's what Rashi says in case. Rashi brings it down here too. Look at Rashi. Vatispayim ruchai. Beparoi ne'amar vatipayim ruchai. Right? By Paroi it says vatipayim. Shaloi ne'ala mimenu ela pisroi nachalim. Paroi only forgot about the interpretation. V'kan she'ne'ala mimenu gam hachaloim. And here, where the dream was hidden from him, nichbala haloshain. By the way, what does vatispayim mean?
A few.
Rashi says pi'ima. Pi'ima means it was like beating, halima, banging. Okay, and his sleep was niyasa alav, was broken. Rashi says lashon shivrain. It was broken. His sleep was broken. Yeah? Okay. Or the Malbim says a different pshat in nihiyasa. Right? What would you say the word nihiyasa means?
Broken.
That's what Rashi says, but yeah, you would have said that on your own?
Yeah.
You knew that?
Midever avois.
Midever?
Midever avois Yosef.
Yeah, so let's bring that in. So Bzelik says that he would have known this niyasa means to be broken. I don't know if nihiyah, I would taich.
Was.
It was.
Right.
It was.
Or no, not niyah, it would be.
Nihiyasa. It was.
Oh, okay.
So the Malbim taiches it. Ushnasi niyasa alav. It was. His sleep was, which means he didn't wake up from the dream. Now normally when you have a dream that's startling, yeah? Kihu yatzilcha mipach yakush midever havos. You mean from the pestilence that breaks. Very good. The Malbim points out, you know what it means? Sheshnasin niyas alav. He didn't wake up from the sleep. In other words, the sleep remained.
But this is all a dream?
In other words, like this. Sometimes you have a dream and you don't wake up. Why don't you wake up? Because you know what kind of dream you're having? You're having a dream that you're floating on the clouds and someone's feeding you marshmallows. Right? So you're not going to wake up. Well, why should you wake up from that dream? But if you have a dream that, you know, you're being chased by a wild bear, you're going to wake up. So what was the reaction of Nebuchadnezzar to this dream? Vatisbayim ruchai. He's shaking. But why didn't he wake up? So the fact that he was shaking and he didn't wake up, that showed him there was something unique about this dream, and he needs interpretation. That's how the Malbim learns. He didn't want to wake up. I hear. So what does he do? Vayomer HaMelech. The king said, Likroi lachartumim, to call the magicians, V'la Shafim, and the astrologers, V'la Mechashafim, and the Kishuf-machers, V'la Kazdim. The Kazdim, who are the Kazdim?
They were Kishuf-machers.
The Kazdim refers specifically to...
They were astronomers.
The Chaldeans, the Babylonians, who happened to have been astrologers.
They read the stars.
Right. Now, if you look in the Gemara in general talks about astrologers as Kazdim. Not because that's their nation of origin, but it became a generic term for all astrologers. But here it's specifically referring to Babylonians. The Malbim learns a little differently. The Malbim says the Kazdim are those who are Mapil Gairalais. Right? In other words, let's say you want to know who should take out the garbage today. So we'll make a lottery, we'll put all your names, and they knew how to make special Gairalais. Yeah? Lahagid HaMelech Aloi Moisav, to tell the king about his dream. Vayavayu, they came. Vayamdu l'fnei HaMelech, they stood before the king. Vayomer lohem HaMelech. So the king says to them, Chaloim chalamti, I had a dream. Yeah? It's like the predecessor, Martin Luther King. Vatipayam ruchi, and my spirit was beating. L'adasas hachaloim, to know the dream. It's interesting to just point out that according to Chazal, that the Torah, that the Navi used the lashon of Vatisbayim ruchai, Nebuchadnezzar doesn't say that to the magicians. He just says Vatipayim ruchai.
He's ashamed. Some learn pshat because he's ashamed to say that he doesn't know the dream.
Actually, because the Mefarshim learn that Nebuchadnezzar didn't tell them the dream.
He didn't. Oh, that's why. But because he didn't tell them the dream.
No, so I wonder why doesn't he say Vatisbayim ruchi? I forgot the interpretation. I don't know the interpretation, and I forgot the dream because
he didn't tell them he forgot.
Yeah, well, he did.
He just didn't tell them the dream. He didn't tell them he forgot the dream.
Oh.
Why did he tell them? He didn't tell them because
you're right.
He was ashamed.
No.
He was ashamed to tell them.
At first, he's just withholding the dream from them, but he's not telling them that he forgot the dream.
That's right.
No, because then they could concoct any interpretation. That's why he asked them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right. No, but the question is,
if he'll say he forgot the dream, they're going to come up with a Baba Maisa, whatever.
They'll make up a dream and an interpretation.
Make up any story. So he didn't want to tell them the dream.
Okay, that's
that
good.
He forgot.
That's good shot. Okay. So very interesting. At this point in the Navi in the story, the language switches from Lashon HaKodesh to Aramis, to Aramaic. So maybe we'll discuss exactly why it's switching into Aramaic. But one thing is clear, that until now it was in Lashon HaKodesh, and apparently we would at least assume that Nebuchadnezzar spoke to his astrologers and his magicians in Lashon HaKodesh. So you say, no, maybe not. Maybe this is just, the Tanakh translating what Nebuchadnezzar said into Lashon HaKodesh.
Why would he be speaking in Babylonian or whatever language?
So I'll just point out to you that a few weeks ago we learned the Ramban in Parshas Vayigash, and the Ramban quotes this pasuk we just read as a proof that most kings knew Lashon HaKodesh.
70 languages.
Yeah. Remember when Yosef introduces himself to his brothers, he says, V'hinei einechem royos, v'einei achi Binyamin, ki pi ha'medaber aleichem. Your eyes see, and the eyes of Binyamin, my brother, that my mouth is speaking to you. So what does Rashi say? Rashi says, Ki pi ha'medaber aleichem b'lashon HaKodesh. You know what the
So we ask
what the proof is?
Well, what's the big deal? Every king knew Lashon HaKodesh.
Yeah. So the Rashi says, proof to you, I'm Yosef, I'm singing Lashon Kodesh. So Ramban, listen to what the Ramban says. The Ramban writes, this is in Vayigash, Mem Hey Yud Beis, There's no proof from the fact that someone in Mitzrayim spoke Lashon HaKodesh. Says the Ramban, Ki al daiti husfas Canaan. The language in Canaan was Lashon HaKodesh. V'rabim b'Mitzrayim yoidim, I said. Many Egyptians do Lashon HaKodesh. Ki karefu, it's very close to Israel. V'yavki ha-Moshe. Certainly the king would know Lashon HaKodesh. Shederech ha-milachim v'ha-moshlim ladas ha-lashonos. It was the derech of the king and the rulers to know the languages. U'kamay shetireh b'Nebuchadnezzar, says Ramban. Like we see about Nebuchadnezzar. Shamar b'Lashon HaKodesh, he said in Hebrew, Chaloim chalamti v'tispaim ruchi ladas ha-chaloim. Bavur shahisham chartumim v'asham v'machashvim ukazim v'shonis rabim u'misrael v'kulam yavinu oisai. Says the Ramban, if Nebuchadnezzar is talking to his astrologers and his magicians and his necromancers, they must have understood him, and he's talking in Lashon HaKodesh. I just want to point out something very interesting. That when the Ramban quotes over this pasuk, he has a different word than our Navi. And instead of Vatipayam Ruchi, he has Vatispayam Ruchi. You hear this?
That he did tell them that he forgot.
Now, it's probably a printing mistake.
It's a printing mistake.
It's easy to push it off on the scribe.
So what is the teretz of the Ramban?
That Yosef is just saying it as an amasla ba'alma. It's just like a nice thing, but it's not a mamisha raya brura. Okay. Let's continue. Let's continue. Pasuk Dalet. Now, of all the people sitting in the presence of the king, you have Chartumim, you had Ashafim, you had Mechashifim, and you have Kazdim. Who decides to speak up to the king? Vayedabru ha-Kazdim la-melech ha-Romis. The Kazdim speak to the king in Aramaic. And they say the following: Malka, king, le'omen chayi. You'll live forever. You know, like long live the king. Long live the king. Bracha. Emar chelma lavdach, tell us the dream. Ufishra nechame, and we will relate the interpretation. In other words, what do you want from our lives? You want us to guess the dream and then come up with interpretation? We can't. How are we supposed to know what you dreamed? We don't know what's going on in your head. We know kind of, chaloimus. So what kind of, crazy dreams you're having? You tell us the dream, we'll tell you the interpretation. Why exactly do they give him this bracha? So first we'll explain, look, you know what they thought? They thought Nebuchadnezzar must have had a really scary dream. And the dream always follows what? The interpretation. But Nebuchadnezzar was afraid to tell them the dream lest they give a ominous, a very difficult interpretation. So what they're telling the king is, we're on your side. We love you. We respect you. We want only the best for you. You're going to live forever. You're going to live forever. And if you tell us the dream, we'll give it a good interpretation. Or in other words, they're telling him, don't be scared that you had a dream that you're going to die, because no! La'omen chayi, you'll live forever. But we can't do anything, we can't, you got to give us something to start with, You can't leave us hanging in midair. Ane malka v'amar lechazdai. So the king answered and spoke to these Chaldeans. He says, Milsa mini azda. The matter has left me.
You forgot.
I don't have it anymore.
He doesn't remember.
He misremembered. Yeah? What? I don't have it anymore. Hain. Hain in Aramaic, this is a very important word. Okay, you ready? If you came here to learn one thing, it's that in Aramaic the word hain means if. Look at Rashi. Vehain. This is Rashi in Pasuk Vav. Really it should be maybe Pasuk... no, Pasuk Hey says the same thing. Hain means if. Hain lasa haide unani chelma ufishrei. If you don't tell me the dream and the interpretation... Hadamin tisavdon. you will be cut into pieces. Uvatechain, and your homes, nevali yitzamun, will be made into a dung heap. Okay? So Nebuchadnezzar basically said, you better tell me the dream and the interpretation. And if you don't, I will cut you, I will take you arm by arm, leg by leg, cut you into pieces, and put you into my cholent. That's it. You got to tell me the dream. And worst comes to it, don't think I'll leave your home. Your home will become a bathroom. You know, he's trying to pressure a little bit. You know, either you tell me or you're dead meat. Says Nebuchadnezzar, I'm not such a bad guy. And what if you do tell me the dream and the interpretation? Vehain. What does vehain mean?
If.
And if. Chelma ufishrei. The dream and the interpretation. Tihachavoin. You do communicate. Right? This word is going to appear many times. Right? We had it in Pasuk Dalet. Nichavei. Or tihachavoin. Like, you ever hear the Sefer Chavos Das? Lichavos means to relate, to clarify. So, if you do clarify my dream and the interpretation, matanan, what's matanan? Presents. Univizba, Rashi says, doirainos, gifts. Vikar, what's vikar? Honor. Sagi, what's sagi? A lot of it. Tekavlam min kadama, you will receive from me. Lahain, if only chelmo pishrei hachavoini, if only the dream and the interpretation hachavoini, you relate. So basically, Nebuchadnezzar saying, if you don't tell me, you're dead meat, and if you tell me, you'll be rewarded.
Nebuchadnezzar was right. If you are a Navi, you have to know what I dreamt.
Yeah. So Farshim say, look, if they would have come and said, I'm sorry, Nebuchadnezzar, we can't help you, he wouldn't have gotten so upset at them. But they come in and they make believe they're big machers, they know their stuff. So if you don't tell me my dream, now don't come into my palace and in my room and waste my time that you're a big expert and you can't help me now. So Anois Sinyanos va'amrin. Now Rabbi say, until now, the Kazdim did not know that Nebuchadnezzar forgot the dream. They were suspect, like we said before, that he was hiding it from them. He was trying to trap them. Because basically he remembered the dream. He had a dream about 7 clowns eating marshmallows. Yeah? If they're going to make up some dream that he dreamt about, Babylonia winning the World Olympics, he's going to chap them. No, that's not what I dreamt about, you see? And he's going to kill them. So they thought he was waiting in ambush, that as soon as they would tell him the dream, he would say, no, that's not what I dreamt. So they're afraid to say anything.
But he was doing the opposite.
Taka really didn't know. He really didn't know, but he was making believe he did know.
But if they would tell him the correct dream, then he would realize that that's what he dreamt.
Right, he would remember. He would be able to, it would jog his memory.
Recollect.
Right? So look in Pasuk Zayin. Anoi sinyanos va'amrin. He answered. What does tinyanos mean?
Again, second.
Right? Like you ever say,
Shayness.
Shas Teshuvas Reb Kiva Eger Madura Tinyana. Right? The second volume. Va'amrim, and they said, Malka, king, Chelma Yemer L'Avdahi, please tell the dream to your servants. Ufishrei Nehachave, and we will clarify the interpretation. So the king says like this. Ane Malka, the king responds, Va'amar, and he says, Min Yatziv, I am certain. Yada, I know for certain now. Now I know for certain. Di idana, that at this time, Anton Zavnen, you guys are doomed. You're doomed. What are you hacking me a chinik to tell you the dream? I told you I'm not telling you the dream. So you keep on repeating. What kind of chutzpah is this? You come to the king and you say again, tell me the dream. If he says no, you don't ask again. Now I know Zavnen. Rashi Taisha Zamnan, you're doomed. You're given over to die.
Sold down the road.
Kol kavel di chazeson. Because you see, diazda mini milsa, the matter has left me. In other words, you see I don't know the dream. You see I can't remember, and you keep on asking me anyway? Now, the word zavnin is a very interesting word. right? We would, if you,
sold
those people learn Gemara. No, right? Zavnin is to buy or to sell, but that's not how Rashi teaches it.
Yeah, Rashi tells Ashazu Ashar to Mesurim Lomas.
You saying Mesurim? The Malbim teaches Zavnin mamish literally. I know you're buying. What are you buying to? You're buying time.
A few parishes.
Right? Okay, good. You're buying time. You're stalling. You're waiting for, I don't know what, some clue to figure out what my dream was. I know you're buying. You're stalling for time. Rav Saadia Gaon says a little bit differently. It's like Zimnin, time.
You're going to be sold. No, when that's a threat, then they will be sold.
You think?
That's what that says.
Okay. Let's do one more pasuk. Tihain chelma. What does hain mean? If. Tihain chelma. If the dream, loisa haide unani. You don't tell me. Chadahi daschain.
He means because. Because if.
What are you hacking at China?
You just said
yeah.
Pain.
In other words, Rashi says she'im. It's not if. That if. It's that if. It's D.
Oh, D.
Dihain. That if. Chelma loisahu sahaidu inani. If you don't tell me dream, chadahi daschain. Your sentence will be one. What does that mean? You'll have one sentence, and he doesn't say what it is. It's obvious what it is. You're going to die. He says, chidva. He says like this, achadahi daschain. One, your sentence will be one. In other words, you're going to die. Umila chidva. Now, what does chidva mean? I'm going to tell you something very important. Very good. In Aramaic, the zayin of the Hebrew zayin is a dalet. Like, mashkanta devei dari, the Gemara says it's really mashkanta devei zari, the threshing floor. In Aramaic, it's dari. Okay, if a false word, ushchisan, a corrupt word, his mintun, you're preparing lameimar kadamai, to say before me, ad di idana yeshtane. By the time the times change, ... In other words, it's a threat. If you tell me a false or a corrupt word, adi idana, by the time the times change. When do times change? By the time night comes, ... In other words, he doesn't finish the rest. By the time night falls. I once had a teacher. I went to a teacher's training course. Rabbi Yoel Kramer. So he gave He said a very good piece of advice. If you're a Rebbe or you're a parent, never say, if you don't go to sleep now, I'm going to do that. Don't say what you're going to do. Because you're not going to be able to do it.
That's it.
And then what? They'll see your threats don't mean anything. They'll see, right? They say, if you don't go to bed, you're not going to get dessert tomorrow night. So when the kid gets dessert the next night, they see the parents, don't really mean that. So always say the following. If you don't go to sleep now, you'll have to face the consequences. What are the consequences? You'll decide. You don't know yet.
He said already for
he said, Chadahi daschain. Now what? Where? Yeah, I can chop you. He doesn't have to say because it's already clear from before. Okay. He says, Lahain there Chelma Amaruli, just tell me the dream. Ve'inda, and I will know.
You skipped a few words. His damintin lameimar kadamar.
Right, if a false and corrupt word you prepare to say before me, then you should know Adi idana yishtane. By the time the times change, ...
What I said before.
Yeah, but I'm not sure because he never threatened them what would be if they tell him a false report. Mm-hmm. He just threatened them if they don't say it, but the dream. Okay. Lahain just chelma amaruli, tell me the dream. Ve'inda, and I will know. It's interesting. Here Rashi tells us what the word lahain means. We had it before. Lahain
Therefore,
means
lahain means but therefore.
No, it's a little different than lahain. But. Chel me'amaroli, tell me the dream. Ve'inda, and I will know, the fishrei, that the interpretation, tihachavunani, that you have clarified for me. So what does he mean, ve'inda? What does he mean, just tell me the dream?
Telling me the dream, I will know that the interpretation is correct.
Maybe tell me the dream, and then when you tell me the dream, I will know that was taka my dream.
I will believe you that the interpretation, if you're so smart that you can tell me the dream, I'll know that the interpretation will also be correct.
Of course, if you, king, tells me what your dream was, I could make up any interpretation.
Yeah, the yinda l'chara means tell me the dream, and when you tell me, I'll remember, I'll know that was taka my dream. But right now, it left my mind. Okay? Rabbi Sai will hold it over here. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.